welcome. I thought we'd look at a often quoted saying, stand in your power. What does that mean? Let's give you an example. Let's take a physical action here. Okay, I'm standing. Well, where's the power? What is this power? So how are you going to find that power? How are you going to recognize? We've been joined by Junus. How are you going to discover that power? You notice I'm putting this as a series of questions because I am asking questions. As King quest I on. I've been pondering before making this video, and it's quite amazing how on the radio came Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, or part of it anyway. And it is in that fourth movement as what is known as the choral symphony, the core all. It's actually flipped. It's not a choral symphony at all. It's a symphony with a choral finale. If you listen to that finale, what it starts off with, it plays themes from the first three movements, which is interspersed with this musical expression that goes something like da 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 da, which is basically like, well, we've tried that way, scrap it. We'll try it this way. That didn't work either. We'll try it a third way. That didn't work. Now we come to a new way of doing things because we're adding our humanity into it. I can tell you as a concept, but that's not really enough. You need to feel this inside yourself. But we are in a realm where there are plenty of comparables where we can compare things to, and they are all stories. So the Tower of Babel. Babel is confusion. So you dismantle that one and you rebuild it as a pyramid, so it all comes to a center point. That is the whole point of it, to find the center point inside yourself. What popped into the mind earlier is the 1984 film Terminator, where Kyle Reese finds himself being questioned by the authorities. I forget what's actually said, but he says, then why am I talking to you? Who is in authority here? Let me ask you to put this into a context. Have you found yourself in the courts? Would you say that's quite a daunting experience? Can you stand in your power in that situation? Can you act as a king or a queen? Because what are you faced with? You're not faced with an equal. You're faced with an authority figure based on an assumption. So it's basically, well, who the hell are you to ask these questions? You could even, if you really want to go the whole way, you could say to the judge, judge ye not lest ye be judged. Probably not recommendable because you'll be charged with contempt of courts. But I would say, yes, I accept that because I have contempt for the entire system in a way. But it's there. It shows that collective energy actually creates it, because say you've lost a loved one through the actions of another. It would be an accusation of murder. You want justice. But what do you really get? What if that person is found guilty and now they're serving a life sentence? Does that bring back that loved one? Have you still got that feeling of loss? Where is the justice really? Just look at the word. Look at the way it is spelt. It is just ice. It is cold. It is devoid of compassion. The reason that there would be a harsh sentence for such an action is because you've deprived this system of an energy resource. So by then giving that person a life sentence, they will now have a lot of negative feeling. which will help sort of balance out the loss of the energy of the one that is no longer in this construct, in this reality. I can point you in several directions to be able to unlock this inside yourselves. It requires you to be like a radio, to be a receiver, and then also a transmitter of what is received, because it's always two-way traffic. It's a realm of duality. It is, just like the system shows, a trickle-down effect. But it's internal. It needs to trickle down from the activated pineal gland and become heart-centered. In the physical sense, if you look at the chakra system in relation to the body, the gut, the solar plexus, is in the middle, but it's about rising things up. So the center of the chakra system is the heart. It is the midway point. It is the fourth chakra, whether you count from the root or you count from the crown. It's always in the middle. That is the place to be coming from the heart. It requires, when you stand in your power, to not only have the recognition of who you truly are. It's not like this reality where it is attaching a label to say, I am this, I am that, referencing any mythological or famous character. It is being like a chief, which is a chef, in which you are given all these ingredients to the basic materials. You just have to take those ingredients in various proportions and create a new dish out of it, shall we say. What I hope will come from this is that you will have this self-recognition inside yourself. To put it in modern day language, it's about getting the app, the application. It's what you apply within oneself. That is the true app that you're looking for. Now, I could say, listen to Archaix channel, the Immortal Soul playlist, listen to Neville Goddard's teachings, listen to True Love channel, listen to Bill Donahue, listen to Rudolf Steiner, and many, many more. Alan Watts. I could just keep going on with different names. They're all basically showing you the same thing. The only way I can really talk about this is from the position of authority. What am I the authority upon? And that is the only thing it can be, and that is this physical being and its life experiences within this reality. So let's go back 2 years and let's put a hypothetical question to you. You've taken the plunge and you've moved somewhere. The situation has changed, in which you find yourself in a remote location. You have no income. What would you say are the chances of 2 years later still being in the same place, pretty much in the same situation on a week-to-week basis, but over those 2 years, and this is personal testimony here, the feeling I have with the presentation of what's going to happen next week, look, what is the way things are going, we're going to run out of food, or so it would appear, but it never does. This is the thing. Although you can't see it, what you're actually doing with this recognition of oneself, which then you discover the potential, if not the total power inside yourself, it follows the pattern of learning to walk, taking baby steps. even this birth from above, which is like a being lifted up, a feeling of elation. It's really the only words that describes it as such. That recognition that you are an immortal soul, you are just here to have an experience, you have phenomenal power inside of you, and also with that recognition comes that what is external of you that would seem to be an authority actually has no power except an agreed concept. If you found yourself in that situation, could you hold your nerve in a courtroom, secure in that feeling in your heart that no matter what is thrown at you in forms of questions, that you can then mirror back with a question? That is the level of that recognition of standing in your power that is required. I'm not saying it's easy. It takes a lot of courage, which is see our age. It's all in the now. You've had the power out age the other Monday in Europe, which then opened up to the power on age, which really this video is still riding on that frequency of things just opening up. There was never any scripted plan consciously to be making this video. This sort of came about yesterday. It's like we need to not just talk in concepts, we need to give practical application of these things, like standing in your power. To find your power requires you to go deep within inside oneself. You've got to basically deconstruct or unlearn everything. Take it down to rock bottom. That can be reflected in the external world where things happen in your life where it feels like the world has collapsed around you. That is a blessing. That is the best thing that can happen to you. And let's look at the word best. It's B, energy, spirit, higher self. This is what the surrender is about. It's removing those gatekeepers of that's not possible. So this situation, where would you place a bet on, well, yeah, it'll still be there 2 years later, he'll be fine? Or would you look at it and say, no, that's an outside 100 to 1 chance? I'll have to be careful how I say the next bit. There's a huge difference between lawful, because there are eternal laws, and there is such a thing as legal, which sounds like common English, but it is not. It's just ways to trap you in the entrappings of this reality. It requires you to get to the point of awareness that you recognize who you are, not by any material realm name, whether it comes from a story or compared to a character in history, whatever it is. It is a self-recognition which with that you will discover inside that you do have this true power. It also comes with the recognition that the universe has got your back. You can trust in the self, because you are generating it all. Can I show this? Well, consider something that you hear or see that you may find offensive, and you have a certain feeling from that. Now, does anybody else feel that? Or is it something that's generated in you, possibly based on something you believe to be true? This world really is a stage, and it is full of trapdoors. I can cite one because they have revealed themselves through their actions. I have been shown this, and I refer to that channel Daydreamers. See, it's not just education. It's beyond education. There is monitoring. There is a filtering system that goes on. It follows the sort of Yahweh pattern of the promises are always in the material, nothing about the eternal. So if you do this for us, then we will reward you with an income from a YouTube channel. We'll inflate the figures, but you'll do exactly as we tell you to do. The price of fame. Consider all these celebrities. Why do they never retire? Why are they always brought back out the woodwork, like Tammy Wynette, to bring out that song Jolene again? When you're in your 70s, do you really want to be doing that? Or is it you have no choice because you've signed a contract? That's exactly what Daydreamers has done. And many more. Ones that Jason of Archaix mentions. He points them out, and good on him. Because people do need to be aware of this, not just so much of aware of those individual characters, but to see the patterns and see that there are many more that are playing the role of gatekeeper, who are taking the material rewards, as it were. But it follows the story of Dracula, the Prince of Darkness, of course, because when those servants of the Prince of Darkness are no longer of use, they are expendable. And they will be exposed, not necessarily by their actions, but by the very system that they have signed a contract with. That's probably not the best way to go about things. But don't be fooled that this is an easy ride. It is not. Far from it. It takes enormous effort. It takes enormous courage to stand in your power, because we're programmed to have that seeing other human beings with costumes as authority to be frightened of, to be scared of. You have to see beyond that superficial level and realise that they're no different. Well, they are actually different, because if they say, "What is your name?" are they even qualified to ask that question? Can they tell you who they are? Yes, they'll come out with a material label based on a legal fiction, but it will be no different from describing what is a cat. It's a furry, four-legged animal that purrs. That doesn't tell you what it is, it tells you what it does. So when anybody says, "I am Officer so-and-so of this police force," or "I am Professor so-and-so of this university," that's not telling you anything. That's just telling you what they do, the role that they're playing in this reality. So they're not even qualified to ask that question. Show me one that can ask that question, that can answer that question honestly, that has found that inside themselves. Whether you like it or not, you agreed to come into this, because you come from a realm that is infinite, where there are no things like these negatives. There are none of those things that you find here. But there's a sort of mirror going on, because how are you going to find out about them without going through the experience? That is the whole purpose of this reality. But it's finite, and it has a flaw that is getting... The cracks are appearing more and more, in that it's something that's happened for a long time, where you get very young children will just come out with things and you think, how on earth could they know that? Because at that stage they have that spirit program still switched on. The education system has not made that disconnect, but it's infallible. It's not infallible. It's increasingly, I think you'll see that there are more and more that are beginning to question, to coming to a realization that this world is not the way we've been told. It's not the way that the majority still perceive it. And with that recognition of self, with unlocking that power inside yourself, also opens up to a very different perspective of this reality that actually makes it a far more pleasurable experience. In the material terms, you could look at me and say, you're not wealthy. But in the unseen perspective, I'm extremely wealthy. Do I have any stress going on here? Do I have any of these stories that are always out there going on here? No. I'm being in nature and enjoying it, and have a freedom of flexibility of time through this. I'm doing this because I wish to share it, because I wish to give the testimony and to give you practical tools for you to find out who you are and find your power so you really can stand in your power. It's nothing to do with whether you're standing up or sitting down. It's that internal recognition. It is that rebuilding, changing that Tower of Babel into a deep inner standing of the language that is going on, which comes from the gut, the intuition, the imagination, the empathy, and the humour, because there comes a point where you no longer are freaked out by these things and, well, why is this happening? Oh, that's awful, and so on and so on. You can look at it and laugh and say, I see what it is. It's just all reflections. It is a sort of genius. There is a brilliance to it. I don't deny that. But think of it like a computer game. When you've mastered level 1 and you can just flow through it, it's just a breeze. It loses its challenges. You'll lose interest in it because it's like expanded consciousness. It is forever striving, forever sort of overcoming, forever coming to realizations. When I say forever, it's only while you're in this reality, because you're taking this away. When you leave this realm, this physical realm, that's not the end at all. There is a genuine signature, which I hope that through this recognition of self and this recognition of power, that you will see the energy signatures of others. It's nothing to do with the physical appearance of them, but you will recognize their energy signature and you'll be able to say, I know you. We're on the same frequency. We've come into this because the game has got so complex. And we've taken on this role to help others. It's the empathy coming through. This is not easy to even condense into really simple words. I spent about 3 hours pondering, how do I say this in the most simple ways without going off on too many tangents. So I feel this is going to be the first of many videos, and this is the direction I feel is the way to take. To look at these, what are often cliche sayings, surrender to self, stand in your power, and so on, and actually explore these. What do they really mean? Because when you first hear them, you already know the answers inside. The conscious mind will think it in terms, and there's the key word, the conscious mind will think. It will try and problem solve. Oh, I know all the answers inside, so I know how many light years it's going to take to get to Saturn, or the height of London Bridge, or how many steps there are in the Statue of Liberty, that kind of thing. And it's like, well, that's just measurements to do with this reality. But so what? Knowing that information, does it really benefit you? It may benefit you if you can see the codes that are in the numbers. Likewise, if you look at etymology, like justice, it's just ice, it's cold, it's devoid of empathy. It's the mirror opposite of what we're here for, to have empathy, to be open-hearted. Another sort of parable, as it were, or a metaphor, is Jesus rides on an ass, and all the palms are laid out in front. Well, the ass is the physical body, because the physical body is programmed by the system to make assumptions about other people. Oh, you're this, you're that. Not even knowing that person, but applying a label to them. But the palms being laid out. Well, when you greet someone that means something to you, do you not welcome them with open arms? So therefore you are laying out the palms. The Christ being is your higher self that rides on that ass, that physical body. It's sort of up here, the crown, basically. It's just a metaphor. But it's whether we can look at these things and stop taking them in the material and the literal sense that we've been given. That's part of the programming. To penetrate the deeper levels of it, to recognize the patterns that are in things. So there's lots of things that I do that, from certain perspectives, would not be seen as legal. But I'm not doing anything that isn't lawful. But I'd still like to see this contract that I'm supposed to have signed that says I have to agree to these things. I was never said, well, to do this you need to agree to this and agree to that. It's all done very deceptively. But there comes a point, like I've said in previous videos, where you draw the line in the sand and you say, not in my world, this is no longer acceptable. No matter where this leads, I have the confidence in the self, the recognition of the power, that whatever those perceived obstacles are, I can overcome them, because I have the power within. Wasn't it a cartoon character, He-Man? This has just flashed into mind. I have the power. There's another esoteric message that is being given to you that comes with an overlay of, oh, it's just a cartoon, it's just a story, it's made up. Creativity is all in imagination. But you can penetrate with the imagination and things do come through. This is what Rudolf Steiner did with spiritual science. It's what Neville Goddard does with imagination and many, many more. But you may not agree with this, but you are actually in a wonderful time. I don't know, do you feel there is a sort of finality about it? Well, that is the gut speaking. It is telling you that things are going to come to an end. Just look around you. Everything is finite. Everything has an ending. No matter what it is, anything in this material world is finite. Point to something and show me something that isn't. Even this thing we call Earth, and seeing it as a living being. There will come a point that it is no more. It won't affect you if you realize who you are and realize that you are in the donkey, as it were. You are riding on the donkey in this reality. And you will make loads of mistakes. People will say, oh, you're an ass. it, some of the things that are said just as a reaction is actually their subconscious is actually telling the truth. But the interpretation and the way it is received is often one of egoic defense. Where if someone says you're an ass or you're a fool, well, yes, I've taken the fool's journey. It comes with a whole load of new challenges. But I wouldn't swap this for the world. It's a beautiful experience. I have contentment inside. That is something to continue to build on. Right, we're up to 30 minutes. So hopefully that has at least given you something to ponder. Because I invite you to really be able to recognize your true self, to find that true power that is within you. That's part of the challenge of this game, that you agreed to come into this. It's been made deliberately difficult as an extra bonus challenge. But it doesn't mean that you can't find it. Many have, and many will. And in increasing numbers, it will alter the balance. It will bring things back into balance. And it is achievable within your life experience. It also comes with the recognition that you're not here to change the external world. You are here to create your own world within that world and radiate that out. So it becomes infectious in a positive way that restores that balance. Takes us back to the beginning, as it were. Because everything loops round anyway. We're in a series of time loops. We're in a circle, but it is also a golden spiral, so it's an ever-expanding circle as well. Right. Hopefully that has at least given you some ways to start going in oneself, to be able to say, I'm standing in my power regardless of what the external situation is. Another depiction or story that's come into the mind was the Hungarian Rising of 1956, and how that big thing was made of that little child, that young girl. She places a flower in the barrel of the tank. Look at the difference in the two. That child was innocent. It had no fear of the tank and was able to do that. That's a beautiful message being portrayed, but how many people have actually seen that in quite that way? But there are stories, this is the brilliance of the game. You have got so many clues being given to you, but it's whether you can open up that communication, destroy that Tower of Babel, so you have a clear communication, a communion within oneself. It's a union. It's a coming together of being able to listen to that gut feeling, to listen to what the heart is saying as well. You're not going to go wrong if you can do that, and you will have this recognition of standing in your power. And it really does open up into the most, well, like the end of the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. It's an ode to joy. There's the world debt. It's what you owe yourself to find out who you truly are and find out the power that you really have inside yourself. So I hope that has inspired you, at least, uplifted you, given you a new way to approach things. But it is all about that internal reflection, that internal recognition. You recognize, you've got to rebuild yourself, your entire internal structure. from the very thoughts you create, your cells will all renew. You are creating a structure in the physical. Even if others outside don't recognize it, you will know it because you will feel it inside yourself. So as always, I'm going to say unconditional love to you all, and this open invitation that you can find who you are, not by name, but by the recognition, and that recognition and that knowing that you have phenomenal power inside yourselves, and you can work some magic with that power in a benevolent way. So as always, unconditional love to you all.